You are now checking out
the Win Podcast,
where the everyday people
are the celebrities.
So let's get to know them.
Who am I? Well, that's a loaded question.
All day. Well, 45 minutes.
I'm a sister. I'm a daughter. I'm an auntie. I'm a friend. I'm lovely. I'm sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
I think of others. Hardworking. Yeah, a lot of things.
Now, was that a lot of those things that, not how long did it take, but were you influenced a lot with of those great qualities through your upbringing, your family? Was they involved in that type of more Sandy who you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. My mom is a very caring mom, and she's I come from a really big family. It's a lot of us. So there's a lot of personalities. So you kind of learn early on to just navigate through that.
Right.
And having a lot of siblings teaches you how to deal with everyday life and people. It's kind of like the best human form of education you can have, because you learn to treat others according to mindfulness. You really pay attention to people and how to treat them according to who they are. You can't talk to Joe the same way you talk to Juan. It's just not what you do, and that's one of the things you learn when you have a lot of siblings. So I'm fortunate to have had to have been influenced by many different factors, not just adults, but even my own siblings, even my own nieces and nephews. Kids teach you every day. My grandmother raised me for a good amount of years. She shaped my womanhood, my that real Hispanic upbringing. That learn how to cook early, when you're young, and they teach you how to, domesticate you very early, and they teach you about morals and core values. They just ground you strongly, and they pass on the remedies and the good old traditions. And yeah, I think that's what I had.
What was something that you loved to do, or what passion that was growing that you started to realize certain gifts that you had about yourself growing up?
I was okay with being alone. I always knew that I was totally fine with just being by myself and spending time alone. I would just, again, being a part of a big family, I can just go in my room and go read by myself at any point and not totally fine. There'd be like music playing, party going on, people yelling, and I just go in my room by myself and just read, like a total loser. But it was just me. Like seriously, it was just me. And my siblings, they picked up on that, and they just knew that alone time was very important to me. Like I just needed to retrieve and kind of just decompress and kind of just like regroup on my own. And I've always been like that since I'm little. My mom, I can memorize things very well, right? So my mom would send me to the store when I was like, I grew up in Dominican Republic, so you're accustomed to going to buy the groceries every day. You buy the rice and the chicken and the verduras every day to cook. So she would send me to the colmado and she'll say, "Hey, Lali, I need you to go get me this, and I'm like, okay, and I'll whole camino. And I just like remember everything, and I'll go and I'll pick it up, and I wouldn't forget a thing. So I guess that's one of the things that
is a great talent,
because
if you tell me this stuff, I gotta write it down on my iPhone, and if I delete that note by mistake, I'm just getting beans, and that's it. So you mentioned that you was born and raised in Dominican Republic.
I was, and
then you came over here at a certain age.
Yeah.
How was that transition from you going from DR to now to the city?
Wow, that was a really big shift for me growing up. It was a culture shock completely. I struggled a lot the first year when I moved here. I was maybe 10 years old, almost 11, I'd say. And I didn't speak English. My afternoons were spent completely translating each word with a dictionary, trying to get like, those workbooks that you'd get homework in.
Yeah.
So I'd really translate every sentence so that I can understand what the sentence asked of me to do.
Yeah.
So I would spend about 6-7 hours doing homework, and I'd grow frustrated because it was just so much, and then only to get it like wrong. And it's like, okay, not only do I have to translate this, but I can get it completely wrong and not have someone to kind of like, refer to.
Yeah.
I was raised by a single mom, so my mother was working a lot, and we kind of just like raised ourselves in a way. Hell of a provider, but she just had to work 2 jobs to provide for us. And
what kept you, I guess, where did you find the strength to keep going, I guess, find a way? Because I would be pretty much like, that would break me apart. Like, and I don't think, I know I have the courage in me, but I would probably be so frustrated. I'm like, why did we leave to come over here, blah, blah, blah. I'm just don't want to deal with it, right? What was the motivation behind, like, I'm not going to give this up, or did someone come along and try to help you? But it seemed like that you just pulled through.
Well, I'd have to say that I'm very determined. I'm a very determined person. My conviction is very strong. I think that all stems from my grandmother. She was a very strong woman, and she taught me like how to be strong really early on. So I spent 5 years of my life with her. So I was molded into just being strong and persevering. I was frustrated because I was given this opportunity here by my parents to realize the American dream. You have an opportunity to do great things and to be great. So take advantage of that and stop being weak and, chin up and get up and do it, just man up. And that's kind of like the mentality I always had. So I remember the first year was really tough. And then I said to all my friends, I was like, listen, don't talk to me in Spanish, talk to me in English only. I stopped watching completely all TV in Spanish, only watch Hey Arnold. And then I would just, and then I was like convinced, I'm going to learn this language. I learned to write, speak, and read in a year.
Damn.
In a year, I was like fluent, and I was moved from bilingual classes to regular classes.
That's dope. Congrats to you. I'll give you like a congrats to that. What was the biggest thing that you wish that, you did say culture shock, but what was something that you missed from Dominican Republic that the city didn't provide that or didn't even care to? Because I know one thing that my friend told me, he was like, yo, like in DR, like everyone was like family. And over here, everyone was like against them and like every man for themselves, and the city would eat you up. So what was something for you that you missed so much from like being in VR that the city was not providing that?
I think, the sense of just home. It's not home. The weather, the landscape, everything is just different. It's a complete, not only emotionally, but physically, you're in a different place, foreign to what you know. I used to walk to school in the mornings. I'd get up, do chores, literally mop the floor and wash dishes after we ate breakfast, and then go to school, and would come back home for lunch at 12, and then would rest for an hour or 2, and then go back to school and come back home, and do chores again after dinner, and then go to bed. That was my life. Like I was.
No wonder you want to leave to New York City.
No, that was in Dominican Republic.
No, that's why you left to come. Oh, yeah, that's why you left to come here. You was tired doing chores.
No, but that it's just like. It shows you just how different it is. Like here it's survival of the fittest. I get it, but it's because you're forced to into that survival mode. There's more relaxed. It's island life, and things are done a certain way, but it's just the way we do things. So you grow up knowing what you have to do, and that's just it. But here's like you have to get the coat and you have to, bundle yourself up so you don't get sick. And then if you do get sick, it's like, oh, you wake up and you're like, it's dark out, Mom, why? And then it's like 4:00. I remember the first time it turned dark when it was 4:00, and I was just, I just come to this country. I was like, the world is ending. I was like crying. I was like, Mom, what's happening? I was like asking her, what's going on? She's like, baby, it's okay. It's just, the daylight saving is different, and I'm like, are we gonna die? I was like so scared because I didn't comprehend what was happening. So so much for culture shock. Everything.
It seemed like also like you had it in you, but also the city also like taught you a version of yourself that you had, but it brought out another version of yourself to figure shit out, man up, toughen it out.
Yeah.
How did that help you in your own life, whether work or, relationships? Like, how did that help you to mold you?
My gosh, I became so resilient. No matter like what's thrown at me, I have to just figure it out. And there are times that you feel like why should I, do I have to figure it out? But then you go back to that little person that you once knew and you're like, how I did it then. I can do it again. I figured it out at 11 years old. I can do it again. You can get yourself out of this rut and you can figure this out. So, the city definitely, because of the whole, people are so desensitized here from one another. Everyone's just, doing their own thing, and everyone's got to just got to keep going. You don't have the luxury of sitting down and feeling sorry for yourself. You got to keep going.
When you realize at an early age that like it was okay to spend time with yourself, like for some reason like that clicked for you, and you kind of knew that you was different from some people of your family. Yeah, you can do what they're doing, but you're different in a sense where alone time and stuff like that was important to you. Was it hard for you to stand on your toes for that? Were your family trying to try to make you be something else? Like, how were you able to honor that and be okay with that? Because I feel like I was the same way. Like I was, and I'm still am. Like I like my alone time. I like to be in my own zone. I'm not depressed. I just love myself and like to be quiet. You know what I'm saying? But other people around me, my family, they will try to get in my head, one, and then also try to make something up that's not there. I'm like, I'm good. Like I'm just playing guitar. How was it for you to accept that in yourself and not others influence anything else to be different?
That's a great question, because I remember when I was in high school, I had this group of friends, and they just didn't understand how I can just sit in a bench by myself and just read. So I felt like I needed to let them in my world, my head, so that they can understand that it was totally fine. Like I was fine. I was just okay. Like I didn't need to be, in a clique or, I've never been cliquey. That's just not me. I'm kind of like a loner. That's just been always been me. And so I would read these stories, and my friends all hated reading. They just did not. If I wanted a book club, it was a one-man book club. So I figured out, I was like, all right, how can I let them in my world? So I figured out, okay, they love these stories that I tell them about the books that I read, but they don't want to read them with me. So I figured, okay, I'll just read the books and I'll tell them the story, and I'll get really juicy stories. Even if I want to read them, I'll be like, whatever, I don't care, I'll read this book. But I chose books that I knew would entice them on purpose, like fiction novels and sex novels and all these things. And they'd be like, oh, and tell me what Maria did next. And I'd be like, yes, the character. But then there was a downside to that, It came the homework part of it, so did you read that chapter? Can you give me the notes? And, that kind of codependency. And I would be totally fine with it because I just love to read. I remember in college.
I would have loved you as a friend.
Yeah. I remember.
I hated people that didn't want to help other people. I had this one guy named Winfield. He was mad smart. Yeah, I wanted to cheat for him all the time, but help me out. I didn't want to do it. Come on, I made you laugh all the time. So the least you can do is give me a couple of answers. So anyway, back to your story. But I would love you in high school.
In college, there was a loser's bench, we would call it, because that's where everyone stood to hang out and not go to class. They would skip class, and I would sit at the loser's bench in the middle of the student hall
Mhm.
room, and I would just sit there and read in the middle of all this chaos, and people would just be like, what is wrong with you? Like, how can you just read and there's so much noise here? And I'd be so sentenced, like page after page, and then I would be like, you know what, I don't want to be a part of the losers bench. Like, I don't, that's not, because that's what it was known for. All the, everyone that skipped class, and then you'd honestly not see them the following semester. One by one, they would drop out of school. And it was truly the loser's bench. Like, it was named that for a reason. Because once you sat there and you kind of just joined that movement, there was no going back. You either dropped out of school, got a regular job, or just, forgot about all the real reason why you were there.
It seems like, and what it is, not it seems like, books provided you so much in your life.
Mm-hmm.
I want to take us now into your brain of how did these books, what did it provide for you that you wasn't getting from your own life away from it? What was this world it was providing you? How did it help you?
Well, it taught me so much about myself. It taught me how much of a perfectionist I am. I wanted to master the language, and I wanted to speak proper English. I didn't just want to learn, slang and proper English. I wanted to speak properly. I wanted to not just be another statistic. Like, I really wanted to focus on being the best version of myself that I could be. So I would read all these books, self-help, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I would highlight any word that I did not know, and I would, translate it and get the meaning, and then I would use it. I would use it. Was it the Power of Seven repetition? I think it is.
I don't read, but yeah.
I would use it 6-7 times in a day on purpose, and I would make a point to use it, include it in my vocabulary, so that I can make it a part of my vocabulary every day. So that's kind of like one way that I used reading to my advantage. I wanted to just be better, and I wanted to learn. I'm just an inquisitive person. I've always been, even curious. I asked a lot of questions, a lot of the wrong questions, because I had no business asking these questions, especially adults. I'd be like, what are you asking for? Like, that's none of your business. I just always wanted to know more. And I don't just stand for, I don't just take whatever you give me. I ask why and when and how and what. Like, I just always been like that. So books provided me that.
How did you get into the business development and the marketing aspect of your career? Because from the outside, it looks like you're producing, you're like putting on these Broadway plays, you're stage managing, and I'm like, what does she do? And then when you told me like this title, I'm like, that doesn't look like that's what you're doing. It looks like you're doing other shit, which is pretty dope. So how did you get into that? And was that something that, I guess, like, it provides for you, but was it also like not a passion, but a need there for you as well? And then how did it fall on your lap?
Well, there's an interesting story to this. When I was in college, in my senior year in college, I was a nerd. I had pretty good grades. I had really good grades. I had a very good GPA. So when it was time for me to get an internship, I went to see the counselor, and she pulled this like paper from like the bottom of like a pile of things, and she was like, she looked at my GPA. So
it was like a 8.0 and all the highest.
It was like she had like a pile of like specific internships that she would only send like specific people to. So I guess like she felt I can represent the school in a good way. So she decided, okay, let's send you here. It was at Rockefeller Plaza, like for NBC Universal. So it was a marketing and community affairs internship. I had no idea. I literally walked up to this building and I said to myself, well, Lali, you're never going to get this. So just, have fun with this interview, be yourself, and just whatever. Literally, that's exactly what I say to myself. You're never going to get this, whatever. So I got there, and the director of community affairs, Ophelia, interviewed me. She loved me. She had me start right away.
Wow.
So I got the internship, and I was in that position as a marketing and community affairs intern for about 7, 8 months. I learned so much about production while there, and that was by chance. I really had no idea that this would eventually, at some point, be my line of work. So I learned about shooting spots and being around the talent, all the news anchors, the major anchors, Sue Simmons and Scarborough, all these people. Literally, my cubicle was right outside of their
Nice.
office, so I was constantly around them, and I would follow the production crew around to shoot spots for the commercials and stuff. So eventually, I went into hospitality right after college. I worked my way from the front desk to planning, and then I landed a job doing accounting for a production company in New York City here. So from there, I did well, and I moved into sales. Got some experience doing that, and from that led to where I am today.
What aspect because it seems like you touched so many layers of that industry. What was something that you loved about it so much that you was like, man, I could see myself kind of like just doing that all the time if I really wanted it my way?
Honestly, if I'm honest, I
Okay.
never planned for this to be my life. Like I feel myself to be so blessed to kind of have landed in the right places at the right time that eventually led me to this.
Yeah.
It's not like some people have a career trajectory and they say, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to go to this position next.
Yeah.
And they just know. I didn't. It's just happened for me.
So what do you want out of your life? And in the sense of like, what would be a position that you do want, that you would love to look into? And it could be something, I don't know, you could say, oh, a basketball player. But I'm just saying, like, what is something that, yeah, if I'm going to go after it, this is what I really want to do. This job, I'm grateful for it. Like you said, I'm going to be an A++ in my job because that's the type of work I am. But if I had it my way, I would like to look at this aspect. This is what I want to do. What would that be?
I will produce the Super Bowl halftime show.
Nice. So producing, you like the aspect
I
of
like the producing aspect of it, but I feel like there's also a big part of me, which is a big part of what I do now, is the hunt. I'm a hunter. I'm not a farmer, and I tell that to my ownership team all the time. Like, I need to be out there. I really enjoy the hunting aspect of what I do, the sales, the nitty gritty, the getting in front of the clients and then closing those businesses and bringing those new clients in. I really enjoy that. The organized side of me is can see into the future and say, I can produce an entire show, a segment, even like I can see myself producing maybe movies in the future or even like TV shows in the future as well.
Well, if you want to produce a one-man show and invest into that, just let you know next year, I would love for you to produce that. Get some white people to invest in that too. It's going to be great. But we'll move forward and we'll talk afterwards. But so producing though is something that you really you kind of like nailed. I felt like I saw now more a passion in that. Your eyes lit up when you said produce and like the Super Bowl, of course. But it seems like you going out there, you working for something, you earning for something, and also making it work and having it very successful. Like you like the end, you like the chase, getting it, and then the end product where everyone is happy about it, and you at the end looking at like, wow, I pulled that off.
I want to do it on my terms. I want to be an entity. I want to be a company myself. That's definitely the goal, is to do whatever I do next and to do it for myself. Because why can't I? Why can't I do what I do for myself,
Right.
and establish myself as a force in the industry, which I can, should I take the production route or whichever route I take, which is consulting. It doesn't matter. I can establish myself.
I 1,000,000% agree with you. Like you could definitely pull that off because the biggest battle for me is like you came from another country, starting from ground zero, and like you literally had to teach. Like, it's not like you had people that was teaching you. You really learned well with the books, but you really had the motivation to teach yourself and to learn. You had that fire, that hunger. I think that was the biggest thing. Honestly, that was in your way. It was yourself and the world, and then eventually you had that talk with yourself, and it's like, pull through, man up, figure it out, and the books was there. That was the biggest battle. Once you decided that you are not going to be your enemy, and you became your own motivator in a sense. Yeah, you had your doubts and fears, but you continue to pull through and hone yourself, and having those moments and build that relationship. There was nothing coming out of interfering with that. So I think this is what you want to do. You will do it because you attacked and conquered something that was way more. Because if someone comes now and say you can't do it, you're gonna look at them like, yeah, right, shut the fuck up, get out of my way. Because the world at one point was telling you that, and you listened in a way that, like, I'm frustrated, I can't learn English, blah blah blah, and you learned from that. It's like, no more. You had this talk. You told your friends, yo, everything English, and don't speak to me in Spanish.
And correct me.
Yeah.
That's another thing.
So
I wasn't afraid to be corrected. I wanted to. I encouraged them to just tell me all the time, like, no, this is not you. That's not how you say it. I'll be like, okay, tell me how, and I'll repeat it to myself and use it over and over again so that I didn't forget it.
but that's great. I think this when you attack that, it's gonna go your way, and you will make that happen. Traveling is a big part of your life, and this is something that I want to touch into because I was a huge fan of watching you travel and the things you experience and things you would share. How has that impacted your life? What did you learn from traveling, from meeting other people, cultures? What did you learn about yourself?
I learned me. I learned who I was meant to be the entire time. I feel like before I left, I was almost living, not a lie, but a different version of myself. And I think when I left to travel is when I had that time to truly get to know me. Um, yeah, who am I outside of my career, my family, my siblings, the noise, the constant hustle, and the constant pressure to produce and be great at this, and you have to do this, and every day we don't. It's almost like we're so conformed to the idea of processing day in and day out that we don't take time to truly ask ourselves the hard questions, like, who are you outside of all of this? Who are you? Like, what's in there, you know? And traveling really gave me that perspective. It just gave me the time and flexibility to really ask myself some hard questions. And
What did you realize? Like, what was some answers that you received when you kept on constantly asking yourself when you was on those trips?
this is touching. So
Take your time.
I would ask myself, can you love? Can you love those that may not show you the same love back? Are you able to still show that love to someone else genuinely and not hold that like resentment or just, are you able to move forward and truly just love and accept others for who they are? I had a huge realization when I was gone. I actually took time to learn each and one of my siblings even more when I was away, and their personalities and the things that made them trigger, and just kind of like study them because I just had all this time, right? So I took time to
He was reading their books.
pretty much. I took time to really reflect on who they are as people, and where did I want my relationships to go, as far as my return, home. How did I want to carry on those relationships with them individually, my parents, my friends. So much of me changed inside because of this trip, because I stopped looking at I would feel like sometimes I'm a loner and I get it, and people just assume that I'm okay all the time, so they don't check on me. They just think that I'm always okay, and that's not the case. I'm human. I get sad. I have hard days. I have moments that I need to just talk. I don't share much. So my family knows me as not the sharing type. So they won't even ask me. Like my parents are so progressive and so like liberal thinking that they don't even question me about my decisions. Like they just trust that I'm doing what is best for me. And they never say, but oh, why are you doing that? They never say that. They didn't even question me when I left.
Wow.
No. I was a month into my trip and I was in Bangkok and my dad called me like, Mija, what's going on in your heart?
You gotta do his voice. I like when you imitate him.
And I'm like, ¿qué lo que pasa? And I'm like, Dad, I'm fine. I wasn't truly fine.
Yeah.
But I was figuring it out. And I just said, Dad, I'm fine. I'm okay. Because I didn't want to go through the whole taboo thing of telling family members I'm struggling. I'm struggling with some things inside and I need to figure this out. And in my, nature, I retrieved and I just left and I went to go find what it was that was bothering me and how to heal and the answers to a lot of my questions, and how to get to know myself outside of all this chaos and noise that was my life and family and work and all this chatter. So I learned while gone how to quiet that. I learned meditation. I learned mindfulness. I learned who I wanted to be. I learned who I did not want to be, who I was pretending to be, all because you have to live up to a status quo. Like, oh, your friends all do brunch, so yeah, let's go brunching. Everyone drinks, so that's what we do. We drink, and it's like, no, I don't drink. I don't do anything. I live. My life is fantastic. I don't need that to have fun or have a happy life. I changed my whole way of eating. I'm a vegetarian, and it's not because I left. I just put so much in perspective that it just made me narrow the things that I didn't want to do anymore. How I wanted to treat my body, essentially, how I wanted to just carry on with life, in a direction that spoke to me, not because of what was going on around me. So I found a lot of truth to me.
I remember when you went and you just went and I was just noticing. I'm like, oh, she's on vacation, and I'm like, that's like 1 week, right? Then I see more pictures and it's the second week. I'm like, that's dope. All right, so when she comes back, I'll just speak to her, see how the vacation was. Then a month in, I'm like, this bitch quit? Like, what is she still doing out there? I don't have that many fucking vacation days. So I'm like, what is she doing? And I remember I reached out to you, and I was like, the 3M, I was like pretty much saying like, what's going on? What's happening over there? Like, in a sense. And you gave me like a brief thing of what's going on, and you share certain things. And I remember telling you that I was like, well, I'm proud of you. I think that's so dope. That's so awesome. I support you. Do what you got. Like, because I knew what you was doing on this trip, and I knew what that trip was for you. And I was like, that's dope. And I was like, yeah, all this stuff will be there when you come back.
Right.
But keep doing. Stay there as long as you can. Like, that's awesome. And I was like super happy for you. Super proud of you. Because even though you're going through the process, I think it's still a beautiful process. Because you're there figuring that shit out in another country. And I knew it was going to be fulfilling. And I was excited to know how it was. So Rosandi, now we're going to go to our first segment. We're almost done with the interview. So we're going to go our first segment of this interview. And it's called Let's Look Inside. That's the first segment. And the first question for that segment is, what in life is beautiful to you?
To me?
Yeah, you.
God. My spiritual connection with God is very beautiful. I have a very strong relationship with God. I think that through it, I believe so much in what's next, and I don't even know what it is. So, yeah, hard days come, but I don't let them defeat me because I know God's got me. And that's just another reason to live another day.
Second question. If we can pump the brakes on your life right now, what is something you need to pay more attention to in your life?
I think that even not open up more. Open up more, and allow others in a little more. I think that I've done a lot of it throughout my life,
Yeah.
and I think my family has struggled with it, and friends do. But I think that it doesn't serve me great purpose to be so closed off. Like, I have to open up a little more and share my hardships with others, you know, because I go through a lot with my health. I go through a lot with just everyday stuff, just like everyone else.
The second segment is called Words from My Spiritual Teacher, Guru Enlightenment. And in this segment, I share certain writings from a book on Facebook, and we just talk about how you felt about it. And this one is, there are many beautiful people in this world, and it's sad we can't see it. I find all cultures to be beautiful, especially what they bring to us. The things they can teach and share with everyone is amazing. I would love to learn from every culture. What do you think about that?
There's nothing in no book, no story, nothing in the world that is going to give you the human education than traveling and meeting other cultures and meeting other people and understanding and expanding your mind and opening up your mind to just embrace others differently. From traveling, I think that it was one of the most important things I've done in my life. Just learning new things and embracing and opening up to new cultures and learning so many things. It was just amazing for me and my growth as a person, aside from, my spiritual growth and what I was dealing with.
No, I think you nailed it right on the head. This is pretty much represents your life and how the traveling was one of the biggest gifts you gave yourself. Even traveling with books, because the traveling started with books. It brought you so many places, and then the physical traveling started once you started taking those trips. So I think you nailed it right on the head.
You are now checking out
The Win Podcast,
where the everyday people
are the celebrities.
So let's get to know them.